You know, guys, it's times like these where I want to thank myself for having endured certain experiences in my actual life. Away from Call of Duty, right? Away from YouTube. Unfortunately, the Scatmasters encountered quite a few, not so reliable people, we'll say, right? Like, that's the nice way to say it. The mean way to say it is a bunch of fucking liars, right? So over the years, I've had a little bit of a knack for just identifying this type of stuff from a mile away. You see, guys, when the Scatmaster's being lied to, it's very obvious when I'm being lied to. It's very obvious when there's some gaslighting going on, some bending of the truth, some half-truths, some special loophole wording in what you have to say to avoid holding yourself accountable or being called out for lying. I'm glad that nowadays I can identify this very, very easily, because when Activision finally spoke up about skill-based matchmaking, guys, this is grade A gaslighting and lying to your fucking faces. Now, before I go any further, listen up. Please, for the love of God, let's leave a like on today's video, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe if you're new, and unfortunately, I know there's a lot of people that really liked my chill commentary the other day. Today's video is not going to be like that because I'm not a real big fan of liars, okay? Like, there's some people that are just abundantly blacklisted from my life forever. And of course, Activision has always been the type to lie. I mean, every single statement they put out, you could probably sniff out some cap in there, but when they finally talked about skill-based matchmaking, guys, the entire thing, it's all just fucking blatant lies. So they started off by saying, late last year, we committed to a conversation with our community about matchmaking. Today's matchmaking intel is intended to kick off that dialogue and is a new beginning for what we hope will be an ongoing conversation about matchmaking, sharing our process and learnings with you to answer questions and concerns we've seen within the community. Oh god, here we go. They continue by saying, we often see the community refer to our matchmaking system as skill-based matchmaking. Call of Duty does consider skill, or more specifically player performance, as a component, as do most in the industry, but skill is not a dominant variable. We consider and prioritize several factors to create lobbies. And this is the little chart that they show, alright? You can see the lobby is comprised of connection, time to match, skill and performance, platform, voice chat, input device, recent maps and modes, and playlist diversity. A nice little simple graphic. You know, I'm sure they spent a long time creating this, seeing as how we've been talking about this for the last 5 fucking years, and only now that the numbers are down are they willing to talk about this. But anyways, I digress. They start off by saying the number one prioritized thing is connection. As the community will attest, ping is king. Connection is the most critical and heavily weighted factor in the matchmaking process. Now, this is the first thing we're gonna talk about right now, because this is another blatant fucking lie. Guys, I have a question. How many times have you loaded into a game, and maybe it took you a few minutes to get in there, but once you were finally in there, 60 plus ping, anybody? 60, 70, 80. Some of us have unfortunately had the 100 plus, and trust me, those are fucking shit. And look, this is just based off of experience, okay? It's not like there's any testing on this or anything like that. I mean, we're not that smart, right? I mean, Activision certainly knows best about this. Guys, if it's not clear enough, connection is absolutely influenced by your skill in the game. So when they talk about connection is the number one prioritized thing, no the fuck it is not. We have seen this multiple times. Is it a coincidence that I might be on like 70 ping and the rest of the teammates that I have and on the enemy team are all shitters? Is that a coincidence? I mean, we're trying to give them a fair chance to win the game, right? And we'll get into that topic very specifically towards the end. But oh well, lie number one detected. Next, time to match. This factor is the second most critical to the matchmaking process. We all want to spend time playing the game rather than waiting for matches to start. Okay, just to start this off, I genuinely don't know how this plays any role into the matchmaking process whatsoever, because I assumed the time to match is just integrated, like that's just part of the definition of matchmaking. So I don't even know why they bothered mentioning this, but oh well, they did it to themselves. This is also a fucking lie, because another question for you guys, have you seen any content creators run this very, very original test where they go back to the older Call of Duties where skill-based matchmaking was certainly not as thick as it is right now, and they go back to those games, which by the way are not cross-platform, I should add, and they find matches faster than they do in the most populated, most recent Call of Duties, MW 2019 Part 2 and Part 3. Once again, you're just stumbling in your own lie, and yes, you can say this is all just, my opinion. This is all based off of my experience, and not everybody else has had the exact same experience. Well, wise guy, if that's the case, then maybe they shouldn't be talking about certain things that only a few people actually experience. But whatever, man. They go on to say the next thing. The following factors are also critical to the matchmaking process. And, the ordering on this actually matters, in my opinion. They start out by saying playlist diversity, the number of playlists available for players to choose from. Then recent maps and modes, considering maps you have recently played on as well as your mode preferences. And then as the third bullet point within the third most critical thing that goes into matchmaking, I guess, is skill and performance. This is used to give our players, a global community with a wide skill range, the opportunity to have an impact in every match. Then, for whatever ungodly fucking reason, they decide to talk about input, platform, and your voice chat like that has anything to do with anything that we've ever talked about fucking ever. Look guys, I know I talk about school very often here on the channel, and I don't mean to bore you guys, but as a psychology major, right? I mean, any college students out there, you guys probably know this, but psychology is probably the easiest major out there. I mean, what actual skills are we getting? Well, the first thing that I can tell you is the ability to identify bullshit. And so when you fill your information with a bunch of irrelevant shit, I think it's pretty obvious to tell why they are doing this, why they bother wording things in a certain way, why they decide to list things from 1 to 3, and then in the third point, make skill and performance the third bullet point in there. And then put a bunch of irrelevant shit right after it. Guys, this is just identifying lies 101. Later on they say, the Call of Duty netcode, which we've discussed in the past, works to reduce the effect of latency, but cannot completely eliminate it. The matchmaking process seeks to reduce the overall amount of latency by prioritizing stable connections or low ping with a shortened wait time in mind. Now, once again, this is a lie. It is a lie. And for those of you gooch lickers out there that might be saying, oh, well, you don't even have evidence to prove that or support it, Fooly. We gotcha. Fucking dumbasses. Good God. You can look at your own ping in the game, right? PC players, you can just have it by default, but if you're on console, there's literally a setting for you to see your own ping live. And I've shown you guys in multiple gameplays where I'm playing on like 60, 70, 80 ping with tons of latency, with a lot of packet burst. And remember, they're talking about, oh, SBMM has existed for years upon years. Okay, well, if you look in prior years, let's go back to Vanguard. You guys remember the first like 3 months of that game? The packet burst was just absolutely ridiculous. MW 2019 Part 2, pings were all over the place. I've shown you guys gameplay of that too. And in this game, there's proof of it everywhere. Once again, just a blatant lie. Talking about prioritizing your connection to stabilize your latency and your ping. That's just a lie. But then guys, they finally start talking about skill-based matchmaking and how your skill and performance actually equates into this. They say, skill is determined based on a player's overall performance, kills, deaths, wins, losses, and more, including mode selection and recent matches as an overall metric across all multiplayer experiences. This is a fluid measurement that's consistently updating and reacting to your gameplay. Skill is not only a factor in matchmaking players against appropriate enemies, but also in finding teammates. Once again, guys, this is one of those things that I can tell you right now, you just need to read what they say, and you can tell when they mention irrelevant bullshit that has nothing to do with anything. Nobody talks about it. Nobody's questioned it as a concern. Why do you bother telling us about mode selection like that has anything to do with this? This is just basic reading between the lines when you can tell that somebody's bullshitting you. And by the way, they said skill is a factor when finding opponents, but also when finding teammates. Guys, you saw my last SBMM video, right? And to those of you who didn't, go check it out. You'll see very high ping, which makes no sense, and you'll also notice a very large skill skill gap, a very large discrepancy in there between my teammates and the enemy team. Once again, I'm clearly outclassing the entirety of the enemy team, the entirety of my team. They're obviously fucking bots, so you tell me how it's integrated within finding my own teammates. I can definitely tell when you're trying to use it to find my opponents, but my own teammates are literal shitters. Aside from skill, one of the other differences between myself and my teammates are our ping, coincidentally. Oh, my shitter ass teammates are on like 20 ping and less. But as for me, somebody who's at the top of the leaderboard, 60, 70 plus ping. Fucking ridiculous. Again, absolute nonsense. And here we go once again, they talk about how COD 4 also had skill-based matchmaking and it's existed since 2007. Absolute fucking cap. Even the old developers, ex-developers, they'll say this is fucking bullshit as well. I don't even need to go into this one for you to understand that this is a blatant lie. But guys, this one actually raises a lot of questions for me. So they say, we use player performance to ensure that the disparity between the most skilled player in the lobby and the least skilled player in the lobby isn't so vast that players feel their match is a waste of time. Our data on player outcomes clearly indicates that the inclusion of skill in Call of Duty's multiplayer matchmaking process as it currently stands increases the variety of outcomes experienced by players of all skill levels. In other words, all players, regardless of skill level, are more likely to experience wins and losses more proportionately. Guys, do you know what proportionately means? The best way to describe it is, as one goes up, so does the other. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Guys, I mean, that's the fucking answer. That's what we've been talking about for the last 5 years. Why do we need a matchmaking process so despicable and thick to influence how many wins we have versus losses? Do you know what it means for your wins to gradually increase as your losses gradually increase? Because they're talking about wanting this to happen proportionately. Do you know what that means? What that is as a ratio? 1. Guys, that's a ratio of 1. 2 wins, 2 losses. 10 wins, 10 losses. 44 wins, 44 losses. That is the description of proportionately winning and losing. Wins and losses both increasing by 1 at a time with a ratio of 1 to 1. Who the fuck wants to play that? Because if you're somebody who's actually skilled, your win to loss ratio is not going to be 1. It's not going to hover around 1. Back in the day, it wasn't uncommon for somebody who's of skill to have a win loss of like 3+. You win 3 and lose 1 because there's actual skilled players that you'll come against eventually, not every single fucking game. Guys, they're giving you the blatant answer right there. They go on to say, our data shows that when lower skilled players are consistently on the losing end, they are likely to quit matches in progress or stop playing altogether. This has an effect on the player pool. A smaller player pool means wait times for matches increase and connections may not be as strong as they should be. This can compound over time to create a spiral effect. Eventually, when only high skilled players remain because lower skilled players have quit out of frustration, the result is an ecosystem that is worse overall for everyone. Once again, absolutely fucking cap. What did they just mention in the previous point? Guys, once again, this is just gaslighting and fucking lies. Thank God for psychology, I guess. They're essentially alluding to the fact that if somebody's getting pounded on, they're more likely to leave. I mean, I guess to the average person, that makes sense, right? You're getting shitted on game after game after game after game. What do? Eventually you leave because you're sick and fucking tired of it. You know what experience that sounds like? That sounds like the experience of somebody who's actually good at the game that keeps on going against the same bullshit every single game in a row. High ass ping, low skilled teammates, going against upper competition. What do you do in that case after a while? You fucking leave. So in an attempt to get the lesser skilled player to leave, they're literally admitting to bending the way the matchmaking should work in order to keep those low skilled players around. But not only that, remember what we talked about earlier. They're doing this for one reason according to them, that they don't want people to leave because it'll increase wait times and the ping in the lobby is not going to be too good anymore. That's literally the current experience though. So what the fuck are you talking about? Once again, guys, they're gaslighting. They're deceiving literally everybody. And if you buy into this shit, look, I'm trying not to be mad, but you're fucking dumb. That's realistically the only way I can put it. Finally, towards the end of this, guys, they answered a few questions, but one of the questions that somebody else asked was, have you ever tested removing skill as a consideration from matchmaking? Their answer is, we have run tests over the years to determine if removing skill as consideration from matchmaking makes sense. We will continue to launch these tests periodically. To date, the data remains consistent with what we detailed above. Players tend to quit matches or stop playing if they're getting blown out, resulting in a negative overall experience for all players in the lobby and the general player population. We purposefully do not disclose when these tests occur because it may impact feedback or the data we see during these tests. Alright, so you're running experiments, you don't want the subject to know that they're being experimented on. Oh geez guys, I'm really trying not to correlate this to psychology, but that's just fucking... whatever, man. They say to date, it doesn't matter because players are gonna quit matches if they're getting shitted on. My rebuttal to that is this, very simple. How many of you guys remember your first Call of Duty ever? Fact or cap, and I can guarantee you this is the fact for like 90% of people. Your first time playing Call of Duty ever, you got shitted on. Absolutely world starred. You got Batista bombed. Tombstoned. But instead of quitting out and quitting the entire franchise, you kept playing to get better. That is the way this is supposed to work, is it not? Okay, so why are we making measures to prevent this from happening? This is supposed to be the natural way of acquiring skill in a game, so why are we influencing it with matchmaking at all to begin with? You say it's not healthy for the game's population if you just removed skill-based matchmaking, but once again, we haven't ever asked for you to completely remove skill-based matchmaking. We ask that you reduce it. We don't want to be Korean Savage out here and shit on people with no thumbs, with physically no thumbs. All we want is an experience that isn't being hindered, isn't being rigged for the benefit of somebody else. That's it. But that's gonna do it for me today, guys. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. What are your thoughts on Activision's response and addressing of skill-based matchmaking? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with my newest videos. And yeah, guys, it's been the boy Fooly. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out of here. Toodles.
Ain't in my body.